Hey there guys, and welcome back. Mrs. Matheson here. We're going to talk about Unit 1, Notes 5 today on graphing inequalities. So therefore our learning target today is I can graph linear inequalities. Alright, so let's just start by just revisiting graphing some things in slope-intercept in standard form before we even move into our inequalities. So our first one we're looking at here, it's already in slope-intercept form, so that's great. We're going to start with our y-intercept, which remember is our b term or that end term. So we go up 5 and make that point. Now our slope says -3, but we want to be thinking about slope as a fraction. So -3 as a fraction is -3 over 1. We are going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1. We go down because it's negative on the top. That's our rise. And then our run is the bottom number, and it's positive. So therefore we go right. So we're going to do that until we fill up the graph. So we're going to go down 3 more, 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1. Down 3 more, 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1. Down 3 more, 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1. We also can think about our slope as 3 over -1. Those two things are equivalent. So we can go up 3 and to the left 1. And therefore that's where we can get our points on the other side. So we're going to just connect those and we have our line. Now looking at number 2 is given to us in standard form, and we want to put this into slope-intercept form, so we want to make it so it's y equals. So we're going to start by adding our x to the other side. So we have 3y equals x plus 6. We want to get that y by itself. We're going to move that graph just to give us a little bit more space. So we're going to divide each term by 3. Now remember that you divide every term. Our x has nothing in front of it. Well, it doesn't have nothing. It has a 1. So we're going to leave that as a fraction and then plus 2. Now this is in our slope-intercept form. We can go up our 2 and we can do our slope, rise and run. We're going to rise 1 and we're going to run 3. We're going to rise 1 and we're going to run 3. Or we can go down 1 and run to the left 3. Down 1 and run to the left 3. Remember, we want to fill that graph up with points. All right, let's look at our last one. Our last one says x equals 5. Well, there is no y term in there, so that means that our line is never going to touch the y-axis. The only way it's never going to touch the y-axis is if it's a vertical line. So our point is over at when x equals 5, and then we have a vertical line that runs through and never touches the y-axis. All right, so let's get into our notes on inequalities. So graphing variables with two inequalities, you want to just be thinking it's the same thing as graphing an equation. We just have to remember that we're going to do some shading. All right, so our first step is we're going to put our equation into slope-intercept form. You don't remember, slope-intercept form looks like our y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we're going to put it into slope-intercept form. Second, we are going to graph the line. Now our line has those inequalities. It's the less than or equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to. And our line, we are going to have solid or dotted lines. And we'll talk a little bit more about those in class, but a solid line is when you have the equals to part underneath, and dotted is when you don't. And the third step, we are going to shade. Now, if your inequality sign eats the y or is a greater than or greater than equal to sign, we're going to go up. If it's a less than or equal to sign, we're going to shade down from our line. And it says note, you can select a test point in the inequality to help you to decide where to shade. We'll see that in class. We'll explain and talk about those test points. But for right now, we're just going to use this for shading. And we'll be explaining and talking a little bit more in class about that. And go ahead and scribble out that step 4 then. All right, so first one, it says we're going to start with something easy in slope-intercept form. So step 1, remember, says to put the equation in slope-intercept form. Well, already in slope-intercept form. So let's just move that out of our way because we've taken care of that. Second, it says graph the line. Okay, so let's just start off with our points. We're going to start again with our y-intercept at +3. From there, we're going to do our slope. We're going to make 2 into a fraction by 2 over 1. So we're going to rise 2 and run 1. Rise 2, run 1. Don't forget, we can also think about our slope as -2 over -1. So we're going to go down 2 to the right or the left 1. Down 2 into the left 1, down 2 into the left 1. Down 2 into the left one, down 2 into the left one. There we go. Phew. Okay, now we gotta decide, is it that solid or dotted? Okay, big thing looking here at our inequality sign. I see it's a less than or equal to, so this one's going to be a solid line. So I'm going to graph it just as I have in the past. All right, then we are going to go to our third part here. It says shade. So we need to shade up or we need to shade down. Well, our inequality is a less than or equal to sign. So that indicates I'm going to shade down. When we talk about shading down, you're thinking down is below the line. Well, that is going to be over here. And notice that we're shading every single thing on our graph that's below the line. Now you don't have to shade super fine and make sure everything is colored in, but just indicate that we're shading below the line. Great. So that wasn't too bad. Let's try and use number 5. Number 5, first step, we need to make sure it's in slope-intercept form. Yep, slope-intercept form. Awesome. So now we are going to graph the line. So -6 tells us we're going to go down 6 and make our point. My slope, there's nothing there, so we're thinking I have a 1 over 1 slope. So my rise is up 1 and my run is to the right 1. So we're just going to go ahead and continue those points out all the way across. Or we can be thinking this could be a -1 over -1 slope. So I could go down 1 into the left 1, down 1 to the left 1. Good. Okay, so now it's it is just a greater than sign, so it's dotted. So we're going to do our best that we can at making this line look dotted. Or the other thing that I totally think is acceptable and is a lot easier if you struggle with that is to draw a solid line and write it's dashed or dotted. Okay, so if you want to make this a solid line, you most certainly can and write that. Okay, step 3. Hey, we're almost done with this one. It says shade. So remember that if it looks like this, we're going up. If it looks like this, we're going down. All right, does it eat the Y? It does. It looks like this. So we're going to shade up. We're going to shade above this line. Just like that. And we are all done with this inequality. Now, if you go to the back side, you see that there's problem 6 and 7. I want you guys to do 6 and 7 for me for the next day we have class. Finish those up, do them solid and dotted, make sure that you have them shaded, and we will talk about those last 4 that look a little different in class. See you guys then.